Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we got ourselves a track from an act named Skies and Orange titled Daughters. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves the art on the screen for this track on YouTube. Now apparently they're working on their second album at the moment after their first one titled Atlas. I've previously reviewed some of their work in the past, so it'd be good to check out more. We're going to listen through it from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go, what do we got? It's beautiful, isn't it, with those keys and ambient textures. It's just a really satisfying loop we've got harmonically here. And the child being born. And the journey begins. Sounds like a kid's music box on top of their cot. And so that was Daughters by Skies and Orange. Just a really beautiful song. We're going to talk about it more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Skies in Orange, titled Daughters. In this section, I'm going to be providing an overall song analysis of everything from what I think this track is about due to a lack of lyrics all the way through to studio production, as well as any applicable constructive critique. And then finally, my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? My understanding going into this from what I've been told is that Mark and Jeffrey, after their first album, I think Jeffrey became a father to their daughter, and so they both have daughters now, if I understand correctly. And so this track, I suppose, is more of it's the journey to the point where the daughter was born, but also, I suppose, how they feel about being a father to their children. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. I think it's just really sweet sounding, and you hear this crescendo over the track as things build and build, and this culmination of these different flows and textures and angles and emotions is quite charming. It makes sense when you consider what it must be like to become a parent and the kind of the process of that, and just having the baby, hearing the baby crying is just a wondrous thing, because you got to that point where that new journey starts. And so I just feel like that was just a really smart, sensible choice to include there for your average listener. They're going to understand what the track is about at that point, at least to a certain extent, and then beyond that, kind of put their own pieces together. And I think that for people who can directly relate to the subject matter that it make, it'd be really sort of an intimate, endearing experience for them, as well as just in general, it's been a really wonderfully pretty track to listen through. I don't think you needed vocals in this to make it a better listening experience. It was just fantastic on its own. And that is a difficult thing to do with what is effectively an instrumental. You've got to create that atmosphere, that environment that encourages people to want to stay with it. And they did that in spades. They did it in spades. The track itself is 4 minutes 25 in length, and that's just outside a 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, where if it's over 4 minutes, you've really got to provide enough compositional diversity in order to keep people wanting to listen. And I think that Skies in Orange do that here. We have a wide variety of different percussive, guitar, key, bass textures. We have bits of Foley and samples as well, like the crying parts there. We have different interpretations. I remember mentioning that, the things that circle around on top of the crib. It sounds like the music box or something along those lines. It's a very sort of innocent interpretation, almost like you're putting the kid to bed after they come home from the hospital. It's really clever, choosing those specific sounds and textures to tell a story without needing to be too blunt or sort of pulling you by the nose. But the start of the track, though, it doesn't shove you straight into it. It has this wondrous kind of warm glow to the pads that rise gently like the sun's coming up. And the music just surrounds you in the headphones, and there are these major sort of tones there that indicate that things are quite happy. And the track is major leaning for obvious reasons. And when the keys come in, they're filtered in a way which is quite low key, I think partially because of the brightness of the pads and not feeling the need to add additional energy up in that higher range. We work with our triads and have a simple melody that's easy to follow along to and kind of endearing. And when we add the guitar arpeggios in with the steel strings, I don't think we needed to add anything heavy textures there, especially at the beginning. It's just very sweet, and it has this kind of pristine overall harmony there that is more of a celebration, I think. There's a bit of complexity with some of the extensions that are inferred, but not to a point where we're trying to sort of like lower the mood. It's more sort of to relax it, I suppose, to be both uplifting and relaxing, I suppose. And we have these upper key sort of pads there in the midsection, and again, it's huge sounding into headphones there. I suppose it will be the same in speakers, but just the sound design is wonderful. And you have the tambourines start to come in occasionally, and it's the walk you have through this piece there as you're led to all these different ingredients being added over time. Everything feels impactful and purposeful. They clearly have an understanding of how to structure and build. They're not trying to dominate at that point with the tambourines, they're just accenting the start of a loop, for example, as we maintain a similar chord progression and bass line underneath. I think once we get into the drum kit after the baby cries, and there's this kind of build there with things kind of get kind of misty and cloudy up until that point, and you hear again the crying. The drums are sort of meant to make it sound bigger, almost like we're marching towards something. And I kind of dig that. I like that we're mixing in some quarters and eighths and sixteenths, and I think there are even some buzz rolls, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. I think they might just be really quick sort of double stroke rolls or single stroke rolls, but you know, it's nice to have a sense of groove at that point with the quarter note pulse putting us forward. And it's a really solid drum performance as well. Like, we're very comfortable with our dynamic range, playing those quieter notes and crescendoing or sort of building up there, where we know the kit well, and that's the beauty of using an acoustic kit and knowing how to get the most out of it. I don't think having the entire drum kit involved would have been of benefit. I think that keeping to a minimalist foundation with the kicks and snares just allows a lot of the other sort of surrounding elements to maintain their precedence. And as we kind of go through the piece and continue to have again that music box play a similar melody to what we've had before, because that motif has just been replicated across the different stages of the track. It's chapterized. You have, again, the keys being a nice sort of warm mid-range layer, and ultimately it fades out as this bell curve where you start removing things, and you just realize how far you've come in that spate of time. And I think if I wasn't having to review this and wasn't being as analytical about it through the process, if I was just allowing myself to purely be emotional about it, I would probably be more emotionally affected by it. It's just, again, you do enough of these reviews, and it's not a bad thing. It's just you learn to be balanced, because sometimes if you get overwhelmed with music, you start to maybe lose track of some important things, or sort of like miss things that could, but it's just lovely how it fades out like that. It's done its business. It's told the story that it's needed to without uttering a word, and you're good. And that's Daughters. And it's just a really special song. And it's clearly, for many reasons, a special track to Skies and Orange. And I am just thankful that they put it forward. I think it's beautiful. Thematically, I think that it's just, we have these different instruments, such as the guitars performing specific arpeggio sort of picked ideas there, the keys looping things. It's just playing with different colors, textures, and shades. The major key choice was a sensible no-brainer in this situation. You want things to be nice and happy, but the complexity to some of the overall harmonies or some of the extensions and nuances there with the note choices across between and how the different instruments sort of mesh together made it a bit more sort of mature and sophisticated sounding without it sounding cheesy. There is a softness and dreaminess to a lot of the sounds within this piece that don't overstay their welcome. And so it's the way that it comes together is more of not just a happy, like a positive experience, but of more like a gentle kind of cozy, kind of a very cozy song with just a really carefully curated combination of instruments with an instrumental performance without a note out of place. Studio recording, mixing, and mastering is fantastic. Really happy with the sound design. The dynamic range within this from a compositional productions perspective is immense, and I think that's just the way we want to do it, especially when you're going this kind of ambient and sort of like post-rockish kind of stuff. It's just sensible, you can hear, again, the crying, the guitars, bass, keys, synths, drums, etc., all very neatly within the stereo field. Music surrounds you in the headphones. No weird resonances on the frequency spectrum from an EQing perspective. I like that we play around with the amount of frequencies you have in different parts, and we add lots of lush reverb and delay tails to things, but we also don't oversaturate things. Like, we filtered the keys, but we don't try to make them something else, and we don't try to make any of these individual tones stand out to a point where they're like a main lead layer, if that makes sense. Like, there are some clear melodies that you follow along with, but nothing's trying to be more important than anything else. It's more about like the teamwork of everything associated. Nice and loud without pumping when it counts though. Bus compression limiting is handled. I liked how the drums weren't sort of overproduced or chopping into it. I think that was sensible there. I liked that they weren't choked. No applicable constructive critique. Honestly, just from a general listener's perspective, I think this is like a really wonderful piece, and I am so happy that they have both gotten the experience to be parents, as well as the fact that they have been inspired by that experience to make music like this. I wish them all the best of luck with their second album, and if it's anything like the song, it's going to be very, very good. But thank you for watching my review of this track from an act named Skies and Orange titled Daughters. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.